welcome to Book Bites. This is going to be our last video. For a while we're going to switch over to something new. In September we're going to do First Chapter Fridays, where we're going to be sharing the first chapter out of several books. So make sure you stay tuned to that. They'll be posted on Fridays in September. So today I've got some good new nonfiction books to talk about. The first one's called The Back Roads to March, the unsung, unheralded, unknown heroes of a college basketball season. It's by John Feinstein, who's written a lot of sports books. He writes for all ages, so this one is an adult nonfiction book. And this is all about the NCAA tournament, which didn't happen this year. So if you're missing out on that, you might want to pick up this book. So it details the last time they had the tournament, and he went and he visited all the small schools, you know, the ones that don't tend to make it every year, the ones who are just fighting to at least get into the tournament. So he tells their story, and he concentrates on the coaches, the rivalries, all the players who know that they aren't going to play in the NBA someday, but they still have a passion for basketball. So if you like basketball, this is definitely a fun sports read for you to try.
We love March Madness at our house. That sounds like a good book. Alright, our first fiction title is called How the Penguins Say Veronica. And Veronica is 85 years old, and she is crotchety. That's how you would describe her. And she's trying to find a cause to leave her fortune to, and she hears about these penguins in Antarctica, and she badgers them that she wants to come visit. And so she does. She's 85 years old, and she goes to Antarctica to see these penguins. Her grandson follows her because he wants to learn more about her before she dies, and so there's a lot of family history that gets shared, and so it seems like a really funny but also kind of like a poignant family story. It reminds me a lot of The Man Called Ova, which is very popular. Yep. So I'm excited to read this one.
Yeah. Alright. Now I've got another new cookbook, and this one is from America's Test Kitchen, and it's just called Bowls. Vibrant recipes with endless possibilities. So opening it up, you find out what constitutes a bowl. The anatomy of a bowl is what they call it. And so if you want to make a bowl, you have to have a base. So they suggest having greens. If you're into having a salad, you can have rice, you can have quinoa. It goes through all the different grains that make out the base. Then you need to have a protein, which you can have any kind of meat, or you could have tofu, you can have beans. Vegetables that give off good flavor and nutrition to your bowl. And then you need to have a sauce and a crunchy element for the top of your bowl. So then the book goes into the recipes for bowls, and they've went ahead and made some recipes for you that showcase all kinds of different bowls that you can make, so everything gets thrown into one dish, and that seems kind of nice, not have so many dishes. And then at the very end they give you a bunch of suggestions. So if you want to make your own bowl, what are some things that you can use, and here's some rubs you can use on your meat. It talks about all the different vegetables you might want to use, how to roast them, how to make them properly. Yeah. So this is a really cool book to go through and get creative with making bowls.
Sounds good. This book is called The Animals at Lockwood Manor by Jane Healy. And this was actually a request from a patron, so we were able to get it for them. And it's set in the 1930s, and I believe it's near London. And this woman, Hetty, arrives at Lockwood Manor, and she's supposed to take charge of this museum. So they have all these specimens, they have live animals, it's a natural history museum, and they're moving it all out of London to protect it from the Luftwaffe, the bombs. And she's not prepared for the strange things that start happening at this manor. Disappearances of specimens, and there's sort of a possibility of a haunting. Ooh. The owner of the estate is very eccentric and kind of a hermit, and so she gets involved, and so it's just a really unusual story, and I think this would be a fun one to read. The Animals at Lockwood Manor.
Alright, so I have the last book on the left, and this is written by the people that host a podcast called The Last Podcast on the Left, and it's these three guys that are comedians, but they talk about murder and supernatural things. This particular book is about murder and crime and serial killers. So that's not my thing, but I know that there are a lot of people out there who are really into reading these true crime stories. So this might be a good one for you. And it's illustrated. They definitely put a humorous spin on it. It is graphic though, so if you don't like reading about the violence and stuff, you won't like this one. But I know that there are a lot of people out there who are really interested in just the motivations behind these people, how they grew up, why they became serial killers. They kind of delve into that, so that part is really interesting. So the last book on the left, Stories of Murder and Mayhem from History's Most Notorious Serial Killers.
Well, that's a good one to go with our last fiction pick, actually, which is called Do No Harm by Max Allan Collins. And this is a historical mystery involving Nathan Heller, which is a character that Max Allan Collins writes about. But it's actually looking into the Sam Shepard case. And Sam Shepard was a man in the 1950s whose wife was brutally murdered, and he was jailed for that crime. And then he was later released because the trial was so badly managed and the press got involved, and he was basically crucified in the press without a lot of evidence. And it's kind of one of those mysteries that has never been solved, the Sam Shepard case. So this fictional book takes a look at that crime, and I just wanted to read. This is from the author, Max Allan Collins, and he said, "I changed my mind about the identity of the killer or killers half a dozen times during the research for this novel. And if you dig into the available information, you're likely to have the same experience. An ultimate resolution to this crime at this point is about as likely as definitively determining who Jack the Ripper was. What cannot be doubted, whether innocent or not, Sam Shepard got a very raw deal from the justice system as it was dispensed in Ohio in the 1950s. So it's kind of a fun true crime, and this is the author's fictional take on what may have happened.
Oh, that sounds interesting. Alright, thanks for watching this week, and we'll be back next month with First Chapter Friday.
Bye!